Hi, I'm Ann with Kai Dragon Gardening, the channel that's going to teach you a lot about gardening. We're all new at learning new things, and we've had several generations of gardening. I learned from my mom and also Grandma. She did a little bit in her yard. Grandpa did a lot more than she did, but my folks were farmers, did a lot, helped Dad out in the field, so a lot of experience there. And then I was really blessed with my mother-in-laws, both of them. They enjoyed planting flowers and doing gardening. My mom, Norma, she always fixed the yard up to look like little park areas, and it was always really nice to be able to sit down and smell a lilac bush or something really fragrant. She always planted a lot of marigolds to keep the bugs and other pests away. Anyway, so today I want to let you watch some nature while I talk to you a little bit about companion planting and why it's really important. First off, there's several benefits of companion planting. It's going to attract your beneficials to your garden, you know, your pollinators and stuff. It's going to help deter the pests away, making it better for your beneficial insects, and it improves the plant health. It changes the biochemistry in the flavor of the nearby plants when you do companion planting. It also can help the soil fertility. Makes nitrogen. Plants with long taproots can bring up nutrients in the soil to enrich the topsoil, so that's always a good thing to know too. Your corn and sunflowers and stuff make wonderful natural support for your sprawling and climbing plants, and of course your taller plants are a great shade regulation. Like your corn is going to shade lettuce, and so on and so forth. Beans will climb up the stalk, and it also helps with weed suppression. So with all of that in mind, it's a good idea to check in when you're planning out your garden what kind of things you want to plant and what might benefit them when you go ahead and plant something with them. When you plant basil, that helps attract bees, which are a great pollinator. It deters your moth, and if you plant it near your tomatoes, it is said to help them yield better fruit and bigger fruit. Dill is a great ladybug attractor, and I don't know about you, but I've only seen a few ladybugs this year, and they said that the ladybug population is way down because of the Japanese beetles, and it's hard to even buy ladybugs online and get them to get to you safely where you have quite a few that live. We did buy some praying mantis eggs, and we're waiting for them to hatch, but the survival rate even on something like that isn't all that great, because you got to remember the minute they hatch, they're going to look for food, and if they don't find their food source right away, they will begin to eat each other, and it's quite brutal. So maybe out of 120 or whatever that hatch out of an egg, if you get 5 or 6 to live and stay in your garden, you'll be doing good. So I mean, it's like anything, it's kind of a gamble, but they are a good thing to have in the garden, and they do help keep aphids and stuff under control. With your aphids, you can wash the plant with water and stuff, and it will help it, but it's, you know, also too much of that can also damage the leaves. Forage enhances strawberry flavor, and also pairs well with tomatoes. There's a lot of things that you're going to hear that pairs well with tomatoes. It just seems like that is one vegetable that you can plant a lot of different things with. and they all do different things. Garlic deters aphids, onion flies, it eliminates the ermine moths, and also those Japanese beetles. It's good between potatoes, cabbage, your fruit trees, and of course lettuce. Mint deters aphids and ants and flea beetles. It's a very aggressive plant though. I always tell people, if you're going to plant mint in your garden bed, it's a good idea to just maybe put it in a small pot, low to the ground, and kind of keep an eye on it, because once those leaves and stuff hit the ground, they're going to latch on and keep on going, and so you don't want it to take over your bed. Or, you know, you can always trim it back. Nasturtiums, they say you can eat the flowers. That is one flower that is really, really good about keeping caterpillars away from your brassicas. And your brassicas are your broccoli, your cabbage, your cauliflower, kale, and also your fava beans. You know, so by planting that flower, we also planted it around tomatoes and peppers as well, and it has helped immensely this year with keeping the pests away. Parsley is another one that attracts beneficial insects and helps pollinate tomatoes. Your sage plant, we have a sage plant that just got huge. We planted it 3 years ago, and 4x4 bed. It's taken 3/4 of that bed. So in the fall we'll probably plant it somewhere else, or maybe break it up. But it repels carrot flies and cabbage moths, so it's good to plant some sage with your carrots. And of course, like I said, your sunflowers make great shade and support for plant. The only thing about sunflowers, you want to remember, the birds really do love them because they'll go after the seeds. So if you don't really want the birds around, I always tell people, if you feed the birds, a lot of times they will stay out of your garden because you're feeding them. And I have found that that is true. My mom believed that, Grandma believed that, and it seemed to work for them. So they didn't have near the bird nests. And back then, you got to remember, they didn't have all that fancy stuff like we do now, like the bird netting and different things that you can get. They had to rely a lot on using sheets and things that the airflow did not get through. Some other really good flowers though that help bring in the pollinators and deter the bad insects is your calendula, or calendula, I always say that wrong, cosmos, and marigolds. They draw in the pesky, hungry, beneficial bugs. So you definitely want to, I recommend putting at least 1 or 2 marigold plants in every little 4x4 bed. So it's just something that I always do. And do what you want, learn. And if you have other ideas, let us know, because like I said, it's all a experience. We're all learning and growing together. So gardening is something that anyone can do in any type of space and just about anywhere. So it's there's always room for more gardeners. Asparagus loves to be planted. Tomatoes are a great companion plant. And the other ones is like your petunia flower and calendula. Those are good flowers to plant with asparagus. It will help deter the asparagus beetles that gets on them. And I know from experience with my son's garden, the asparagus, you really want that to grow in new shoots to sprout in the ground, and you don't want to cut all of it back because you want to have more asparagus grow. So then as it goes to seed, we plant the seed so that way there's more asparagus. So eventually we're going to have one bed that'll be probably devoted to asparagus. Your beans, they are a great companion with a lot of different plants, just because of the way they grow up and the amount of shade and stuff that they put out, and they do keep the weeds down. But beets, corn, nasturtium flowers, rosemary, your squash, your strawberries, your sunflowers, they're all great to plant with your beans. For beets, garlic, of course, and anything in the onion family, but your brassicas and your bush beans and your lettuce are also pair well with beets. Beets add minerals to the soil because the leaves are 25% magnesium, so you want to keep that in mind. We love beets, so we kind of plant them around everywhere. I mean, we'll even stick beet seeds in some of the flower beds. If I lose you, I have grasshoppers that are climbing on the camera today, which is unusual. It's the first one that I've seen. He's about 1 inch long. Not good. As long as he stays out of the garden, I guess I'm okay with that. Your broccoli, if you plant oregano, it's kind of got insecticidal properties, and broccoli like lime added to the soil, but they pair well with other brassicas, which are, you know, your cabbage family, your cauliflower, things like that. You can plant them all together. And cabbage also likes garlic and sage and the nasturtium flower, so those are some things you can plant with your cabbage. When you plant cabbage, because the bugs and stuff do tend to go after the leaves, it's really a good idea to plant a little garlic clove in between each cabbage head that you're trying to grow. Carrots, if you plant your chives or leeks and onions, radishes, rosemary, sage, that also helps detour some of the bugs. Corn likes dill and melons and peas, any of your climbing or, you know, plants that crawl around on the ground, they like to climb up corn. Squash and cucumbers are another things that go well with corn because of that nature. And of course sunflowers. A lot of people plant a sunflower in between each corn seed that they plant. Cucumbers, any of your beans, dill, lettuce, it makes shade for your lettuce. Radishes will keep the beetles away. They don't like the leaves, and they don't like the radishes. Nasturtium flowers, of course. Oregano, the tansy flower and sunflowers are really good to plant near your cucumbers. And for your lettuce, chives and onion and garlic is kind of a really good natural deterrent. And like if you use the stacking planters and you plant lettuce in one and put like a clove of garlic in the next one, and then do another deal of lettuce, and then just kind of rotate it out, you won't have near as much problem with insects and stuff and other pests attacking your lettuce. Onions go well with beets, cabbage, carrots, chard, and then of course your lettuce, strawberries, and tomatoes. Like I said, there's a lot of things that you can pair with tomatoes. Peas love the asylum flower, also mint, and the marigolds are a really good thing to plant, and the nasturtium flower. Those two flowers I really swear by in the garden, and of course your zinnias too, because zinnias help bring in the pollinators. But grapes are good to go with peas and lettuce, radishes and spinach and thyme. Those are all really good. So peppers is another plant that there are so many different types. And with peppers, if you plant eggplant near them, they tend to really like that. They like a lot of the spices planted near them because of the insecticidal quality in different spices like your basil, marjoram, oregano. Those are all natural protection for your pepper plants. Also, onions and eggplants, like I said, an nasturtium that I already mentioned. Also, another thing you want to remember on your pepper plants, once they get about a foot tall, you might want to put a stake on them and go down through the center and about an inch or two away from the center stalk into the ground. But that way it'll help support it, because otherwise the wind and stuff is going to tend to knock it over on its side, and eventually you're going to end up with a broken plant, and you don't want that. Your potatoes, beans can improve the size of the tubers, so that's something that a lot of people don't know. Cilantro also protects against the spider mites and aphids and those potato beetles. Other flowers that you can plant, the calendula, which I always say wrong, tansy, and horseradish. They say if you plant that at the corner ward of your potato bed area, it will help ward off the Colorado potato beetles. Radishes go well with lettuce. Chervil improves the flavor and growth. Nasturtiums are a good trap crop. And you want to remember that peas also give nitrogen to the soil, so when you plant them together, it's going to help improve your plants need nitrogen to do well. And you don't want to forget about using like a liquid fertilizer once your plants are starting to produce fruit, about maybe every couple weeks or so.